Okay, we are live for BC here. And, if we've been watching the markets, I know everyone has been distracted by the price action, which has been terrible. Continues to be not so great in Algorand, but we got some real news coming up today. Something I think is going to be really important. The Algorand Foundation hopefully is going to be pulling back the curtain on Project King safety. And that comes at a time when Algorand has 2 billion algo staked. So, definitely a lot of progress in that direction. Project King Safety giving us an idea of the roadmap to the future of Algorand. Now, how did this come about? Well, we know that the Algorand Foundation has been selling Algorand to fund operations. There's a lot of concern because there's not enough revenue coming in to continue supporting the foundation and its development of the chain. So what happens after that? It just does it become a dead chain? Does it take on its own life as an independent entity? We don't know. Project King Safety is supposed to address this, and we're gonna have Gabriel Kudel coming on to talk about vibe coding. Checking in on the Pera fund, we'll learn more about that. Plus the newest version of xGov. So lots of interesting stuff to look at. And, we just bring it to you straight. We tell you how it is. We show you what's going on. Welcome everyone in the chat. I know that this is not our usual time. We have a live community call from the Algorand Foundation today. So we're gonna tune into that. It should be very interesting. And in case you're not sure what we're talking about, this is what we're talking about here, that the community call is coming on. It's today. It is the 23rd at 12:45 Central Standard Time. That is 1:45 Eastern Standard Time. Still debating. I was debating whether to pull it up on YouTube or pull it up on X. But what I like about X is that you can get some reaction in real time. So that's what we got coming here. And also, guys, make sure to hit that like button if you're watching here and haven't done so already. That'll help show this to more people. And subscribe if you haven't already. Now, I know we don't have a lot of people in the chat. Whenever I go live at a time that I don't normally do it, it's tough for people, aren't really looking for it. Whereas, if I do it Tuesday and especially Friday, a lot of people are used to that. So that seems to make a difference. Yeah, we got a whole bunch of stuff, and we're really hoping this community call will bring some positive news, and frankly, just any kind of news that we need to talk about. But we got a little time before that starts. We got about another 10 minutes. I'm watching on the X feed for it to pop in. Hopefully, that will happen soon. In the meantime, we'll come back to that. I need to check an email. And we will definitely do that. I have someone I need to get back to. I will get back to them after the call here. I'll just bring this up while we wait. By the way, in the meantime, if you guys have questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Hopefully the chat. By the way, we should be live on, for some reason, I can't see my multi-stream tab, but we should be live on YouTube, X. Well, I can see it on X. I know it was on YouTube because I edited I was able to edit the video in Studio. Let's hold on. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to check to make sure we're live on Twitch and Kick, but we should be. For some reason my multi-stream tab is blank, but I know it worked because it went to all of them. By the way, 26 followers on Kick now, which is, in my opinion, that's quite a bit considering there's like 0 discovery. What it doesn't lead to, it never seems to lead to actual viewers though. Be nice if, I don't know if the followers even mean anything on Kick or Twitch. But we got, like I said, we got a few minutes before this call starts, and feel free to leave comments and questions in the meantime. I always love hearing from you guys. And coming in at 1080, I see, which is good. That I like. I've actually got 5 followers on Twitch now. And I think someone is watching. That might be me, just from checking it out. Always hard to say. What is this? New from Luna. I don't know what that is. So we got a few minutes before this call starts, another 9 minutes or so. I don't really have a lot of extra news. And so I see Jason Calacanis has really been going crazy with the OpenClaw stuff. I really think there's going to be, I can give you a little preview. Can I get back to this? Here, let me pull this up. I'll give you a little preview of some stuff we might cover tomorrow. Particularly around X402, which I think is a pretty big news. This is really what I think is going to be chains like Algorand, like Hedera, other like low fee and very fast chains. I really think this is going to be the future is agentic payments, because there's just going to be a tremendous amount of volume. For example, here's Glow Plausible, and it says Glow Plausible and Algorand have been added to the official Coinbase X402 ecosystem. And they have a big thing about this, but you can see, let's see, how's that gonna look on my screen? Yeah, they're right down here. Unfortunately, I can't scroll that down. But it says Glow Plausible, facilitator dedicated to Algorand and supporting Base and Solana networks. So not just Algorand, but also Base and Solana, provides reference implementation, TypeScript and Python packages, examples, and comprehensive documentation X402 on Algorand. So that is very, very good news. This isn't going to show up very well, I understand, but oh, in fact, here it was. I could have read it right off of here. So it has the capabilities. You can't see this. I'm hidden here, but it has the capabilities of verifying payments, supported endpoint, settle payments, and list resources. So this is like the background layer, so to speak, of payments on agents. And so they're doing the whole thing. I gotta admit, I went to their website. It was a little confusing. I'd like to see more. I always want to see more explanation, not less. So anytime I should make that a little bit better. Anytime that something is being talked about in crypto, I think it's far better to over-explain than under-explain, because people, they don't know what you're talking about. We always assume people have this this base of knowledge, but it's not always the case, which can be frustrating. It's just one of the things I get frustrated on when I talk about crypto, because I think so much is unexplained. You can see that they're really, you see MCP and X402, UCP. This is all agent AI stuff. And that's what Go Plausible does on Algorand. So I just wanted to share that while we have a few seconds. Do we have more Algorand? I thought this was pretty cool too. Maybe they'll talk about this today. I don't think we talked about this on Friday, did we? Oh, actually, I think we did. I think we talked about multi-sig wallets coming to the Pera wallet. I think Hashpack was doing this on Hedera too, which is pretty neat. So, but yeah, we're about 5 minutes away from this community call. I thought the post with MJ made a lot more sense. By the way, and I think I kind of talked about this. I listened to the whole Unchained pod with Chris Piekert, who has done some of Algorand's post-quantum security work. Really good. It's a really good podcast. So if you want to check out the Unchained pod, you want to learn all about quantum computing, that's a good place to do it. Now, the one thing that I thought they missed, and I know I'm kind of repeating from Friday, the one thing I thought they really missed out on was I really don't think that Algorand is going to be a target for quantum. Michael Saylor was just talking about this because someone asked him about Bitcoin. He was talking about how, it's not just Bitcoin, like the entire world is going to have to go quantum proof. It's good that Algorand is leading the way. I think that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but here's the thing. Right now, it's way too slow to make a difference anyway. No one's going to use it because it's way too slow. That's one of the things they talked about on the Unchained pod, is that the speed goes down to like next to nothing. it just tanks. It tanks your speed. Probably like 10, about a tenth. So right now, Algorand has about 10,000 TPS theoretical max, which actually is not theoretical because it's actually been tested in the wild. And by the way, I get into arguments with HBAR people because they're like, well, HBAR has been tested at 10,000 TPS. No, like when it does it in the wild, when you get natural organic TPS and it works, then give me a call. Now, Algorand has gone to 15K TPS. So that's a big difference. That's a very big difference. 15, actually more than 15, somewhere between 15 and 16K it maxed out in real conditions with actual apps putting strain on the system, not some test. I don't have any, I know it's fine if they want to do tests. That's great. I think that's wonderful, but don't sit there and pretend that just because you did a test, that's the same as doing it in the real world. It's just not. Yeah, so we're about 3 minutes away from this community call starting, assuming it starts on time, which it may or may not do so. And like I said, I was debating whether to pull this up on X or pull this up on YouTube. Wasn't really sure. I decided to go with X because I like some of the commentary. No, we probably get commentary on YouTube as well, so I don't know. Maybe I should have done that. But like I said, the biggest thing we're looking for is clarity around this Project King safety and whether they're going to uncap the supply or not. I really want to know. I want to know if that's what's going to happen. Is it? Who knows, right? I really think, and there's ways it could work. There's ways that can make it deflationary. So it's not necessarily the death knell, but I think for a lot of people it will be. What I think is going to happen is if Algorand uncaps its supply, I think the narrative around, hey, there's only going to be 10 billion of these coins ever, I think that's over. I think people will be really upset. And I've seen it. I say that it's not speculation. I mean, I know that there's a lot of people who have already expressed that. They've expressed it on this channel, in our comment section, on X, both comments to me and comments to the foundation. It's just it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how much. How mad will people be if they uncap supply? And they don't actually mention it here, so I think a lot of us are wondering. I see Vibe Coding with Gabriel. I see startups on Algorand. I see Pera Fund. They're going to talk about that. Alpha Arcade is going to be a guest. And there'll be questions too. I got to think if they don't address it in their main section, people are going to be asking in the comments for sure, because this is the thing we want to know. We want to know the future, right? Right now, it doesn't help the price when the Algorand Foundation is continually selling their coins, and they only have so many. They probably got about 2 years worth of runway at current prices. Now, of course, the prices will change, but they're burning a lot. We've heard cutbacks from other, like Hedera's announced cutbacks. I've seen some other ones I don't remember off the top of my head. I have not heard anything about cutbacks in staff or size or anything from Algorand. Not one word about that yet. Doesn't mean it's not coming, but we haven't heard that yet. So, well, we are at the appointed time. I still don't see it. It should be popping up here soon. I don't. Oop, they are live. It didn't pop up on the side. Here we go. Okay, there it is. I think that's good. Do you think that's good? Can you see everything? You'll be able to see the chats on the side. I might move it over a little bit. Yeah, you'll be able to see everything. We'll do it this way. Except I'm going to go up a little bit because that's weird. You don't need to see my browser window. All right. Very quiet. Oh, we do have a comment. Olivia Franche saying Algorand uncapping would lead to a loss of trust from us. I agree. I think that's what most people believe right now. I personally believe that as well. Interesting that it says 0 viewers. I'm obviously viewing it right now myself. Makes me wonder about my own. Oh, here we go. Kind of. Oops. I'm muted. That's why.
The second call of 2026. We hope to share some updates with the community and then open it up for some questions at the end. So if you have any questions throughout this call, feel free to ask them. directly on a YouTube comments or in the Twitter comments, and we will get back with you towards the end of this call. All right, and we are live, so hopefully this goes as planned. Yeah, this call will be featuring some news, Algorand metrics, some governance updates, a vibe coding session with Gabe, various ecosystem highlights, and our special guest at the end, Alpha Arcade. So let's dive in. Mark, welcome, Mark Vandenberg, our Chief Marketing Officer and Strategy Officer at the Foundation. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing fabulous. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. What can you share about the latest Algorand happenings?
Yeah, so let's go to the next slide. This has been, I think, a very busy month for Algorand and our ecosystem as a whole, with lots of partnership announcements, lots of visibility in the media, and also increasingly, you could see that Algorand
DT says, "Hey Frugal, I hope you're a good fam. Just joined. Did they mention Project King safety? Nope, that's where we just started. So we're hoping they will."
is more and more aligned with what's going on in the crypto zeitgeist, which of course is very intentional from our point of view. And so let me go through each one of those three topics quickly. So partnership announcements. As you can see, a number of these partnership announcements were signed over the last month. And if there's a common theme around many of these announcements is that they all are related or mostly related to stablecoins. We want to make sure that Algorand is positioned well in as stablecoins continue to surge in the marketplace. And so we really focused on making sure all of the necessary infrastructure is in place to support stablecoins on Algorand and make Algorand the best chain for stablecoins and stablecoin-based payments. And so just to go over a few of them, Braille is a company that is enabling companies to release their own stablecoins. Braille is now integrated with Algorand, which means that if a company that issues stablecoins wants to make that available on Algorand, it is very easy to do because it is supported by Braille directly. Allbridge is a company that supports bridging of stablecoins between chains. So Allbridge is now fully integrated and live with Algorand as well. So you can now move USDC from any chain to Algorand and back. We announced that USDCA on Algorand is now supported by Kraken, another stablecoin based deal. And just last week, Qantas announced that they have become a direct Visa principal member, which means that they are now able to issue their own debit and credit cards, Visa cards, and have those be linked to Qantas stablecoins and e-money coins, which means that EURD, EURQ, USDQ, all supported on Algorand, will now be able to be used with Visa cards, which I think is super, super exciting. And then the last one I want to mention here is Swift. Swift is interesting because Swift basically provides the integration of Kenya's M-Pesa system with Algorand, which I think is super interesting because Kenya M-Pesa is the leading mobile payment system in Kenya, and so having that integrated with Algorand, I think is quite exciting and quite promising. So these are kind of the major announcements that happened over the past month. So I think, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff happening. A lot of it is stablecoin driven. Secondly, you've also seen an increased visibility for Algorand in mainstream media, both crypto media and non-crypto media. And let me give you an example of that. We were featured on Unchained podcast just 2 weeks ago. Chris Pikert, who's the head of cryptography at the Algorand Technologies, was invited to talk about the quantum threat. And so I don't know.
Really good podcast, by the way. If you guys haven't checked that out, that was a good episode. I learned a ton.
When was the last time Unchained invited Algorand? But it's been a while. It's been several years, and so it's great that we were invited to Unchained, and that Chris was able to talk about the leading position that Algorand has in the quantum space. Because as you know, as everybody knows, our ledger has been quantum secure since 2022, and we are probably one of the few, or if not the only, mainstream blockchain currently that has a quantum secure ledger. And quantum is something that is really a topic that's in the zeitgeist right now, and I think we are leading in the space, and we continue to kind of push that forward. So
It is, but also I think the quantum threat is at least 10 years away. And I also think leading the way isn't going to do a ton for Algorand, to be honest. I think it'll help, but I don't think it's not a bad thing per se. But like I said, it's so untenable right now because it's so expensive in terms of cost, time cost. You know, it would reduce TPS by about a tenth. Is one of the things they talked about on the Unchained podcast. Green Blue says no need to uncap because Algorand will just be a governance token and node unlock. My hope is that running node is lucrative passive income. Yeah, well, we're hoping to get some answers around that. I don't see that on their list, so I'm a little concerned about that.
it's great to see. But not only crypto media, also non-crypto media. We're building more awareness. Stacy appeared on Bloomberg Radio. She was on the Schwab network to talk about the trends in crypto in 2026 and how Algorand is positioning itself in that space. So we've also pushed very hard to make sure Algorand is not only visible in crypto media, but also in non-crypto media, because that's going to become increasingly important as TradFi merges with DeFi. And so that's been a really big focus for us. So, and then the last point I was going to make is on this alignment with zeitgeist. I think it's really important that we are visible in the zeitgeist, that whatever's happening in crypto, that we are part of it. And so the big trends in crypto basically are threefold. One is a lot of conversation about quantum, and as I said, we have a really good story to tell there, and we are telling that story. And the appearance of Chris Pikert on Unchained was one example of that, and we'll keep pushing that kind of narrative. The second one is around financial empowerment. Lots of conversation about the future of finance finally happening on blockchain, and as you know, this is a core focus for us, and we'll keep pushing that as well. And then the third topic is around Agentic Commerce, which is also a topic that's gaining quite a lot of traction, and we've done a lot in that space. And so maybe MJ can go to the next slide. So this was also a big announcement from our perspective, which was the launch of X402 on Algorand. And so for just to set the context on this, X402 is a protocol that was launched by Coinbase in May of last year. And it basically provides an internet native payment rail that is blockchain based. And so the interesting thing about this is that it basically enables agentic commerce. It enables agents to be able to settle payments using crypto rails. And so the reason why this is important is because when in the future, when agents start communicating, interacting with each other and paying each other, it is unlikely that they will do this over traditional payment rails. It's hard to see an agent in New York paying an agent in Milan with 3-day transfers and waiting 3 days for like the payment to arrive at high cost. That's not going to happen. The only way agents will pay each other, in my view, would be using crypto rails, because it's extremely low cost, it's instant, and so there's no other method for agents 100%. To pay each other than crypto. So X402 plays into this and allows this to happen instantly. And so this is very exciting. And so we've been focused heavily on making sure that Algorand is the preferred chain for X402. So there's a lot of things that happened over the last month or so. One is the X402 spec that we created was officially merged by Coinbase. And what's exciting about this is that the X402 spec really takes advantage of unique capabilities of Algorand, specifically atomic grouping. So when you do a payment, we can basically structure the payment as an atomic group, which gives us enormous flexibility to create complex payment instructions, which is something that no other chain can do. And so this is officially approved and merged by Coinbase. So this gives us enormous flexibility for how to construct these agentic payments. Second thing is, last week we announced the live implementation of X402 on Algorand together with GoPlausible. GoPlausible has been kind of our partner in this area. GoPlausible built all of the tooling TypeScript, Python-based tooling. Complausible launched their public facilitator, Public Bazaar, which is the place where agents register themselves so they can be discovered. So all of this tooling was actually created by Complausible and was pushed live this last week. So this means that developers today can actually start building X402 endpoints. They can start building X402 experiences, X402 clients, and they can now do this very, very easily thanks to the VibeKit implementation that Gabe will demo to us later in this call. So this is all very exciting. We are also planning a whole series of activations around this. So we're doing X402. We just completed an X402 workshop in Berlin last week. We will do another workshop, developer workshop, planned on March 1st. We're planning a number of hackathons around this. So we're all in on Agentic Commerce and the ability to do this on Algorand, specifically because Algorand is so well suited for this type of use case. So that's kind of a quick summary of what's been happening over the last month or so. MJ, back to you.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah. What better blockchain to use with 402 other than Algorand? Yeah, especially low fees for sure. All right, over to Algorand metrics. So Simon is our head of analytics. Would you like to share some of the latest Algorand metrics with us?
Yes, sure. So let's start. As you all know, last week of January 2025, we had launched staking. And here we're seeing a bit the progress that staking done in a year. So we started in January 25 with 1.2 billion algo staked, and we have ended in a year at over 2 billion algo staked. We're also seeing increase month on month. If you see, for example, we had a 1.1% increase in algo staked from December to January, and also a 59% increase from January 25 to January 26. What's very interesting is to see that the community share of staking has gone up to 80.4%, and the Algorand Foundation share has gone down below 20%. Validators, online accounts, we have 1,684. This is an 88% increase from what we had in January 25. So as you can see, security and decentralization is moving very well. Now let's take a look at staking breakdown as at 15 February. So as you can see, here we have Reticule, which had 429 million algo stake, which is 21%. The foundation, 393 million, 20%. Forks Finance with their liquid staking token, 267 million, 13%. Valar.
You guys want to know why I don't do interviews much? Just because some of these people, man, this guy's putting everyone to sleep. Good Lord. Anyways, this is some really good news, by the way. The big headline is just under 2 billion algo staked, and the fact that the Algorand Foundation is now only 20% of the stake. Everything else is coming from the rest, which is really good. In order to generate staking income, says Olivia Frances, Algorand blockchain needs more transaction fees. Yes, 100%, and not just for staking income. I think it's really important to point out. I've been doing some analysis on some of this stuff, and the chains that have revenue coming in, that have real revenue coming in, actually they tend to appreciate in price. It's a pretty strong correlation, and we do not have that with Algorand. That's a big, really important point, but we'll let this guy talk a little more.
5%, Reti P2P 4%, and so on. What's interesting is to see the Reti breakdown. What constitutes the 538 million token stake? So we have P2P with 73 million, and those are made up from Bitvavo, Uphold, and others. Kiln, 429 million. What's interesting to see is 263 of that is made up from centralized exchanges, with Bitpanda at 150 million, Crypto.com 38 million, Coinbase 38 million, Bitvavo, and so on. So as you can see, we have quite some large players who are taking part, apart from the community.
Cold Snipe says, quite surprised the biggest staking holder not from the top exchange. Well, the reason for that is there's a limit on how much you can. There's a max on how much you can stake. So a bigger platform, I think they could probably do it, but I think there's a really specific way they have to do it in order to stake. So I think that's part of it. Now I don't know if they made some kind of exceptions, but I remember them telling us there was a really, really specific limit on how much you can stake, which kind of like knocks the exchanges out. Bitpanda doing 150 million though, so I don't remember what that limit was. It's been a long time since that was back in the John Woods days, so that's how far back that goes.
In our staking program, which shows obviously a certain amount of trust in the project. Okay, staking rewards. As you can see, we have distributed over 76 million staking rewards in January 2026 alone.
Starting to pull back a little, you see that? Which is going to happen. They're going to, I mean, they're as it goes along, you know, there's going to be less and less to give out. So it's going to be less. Eventually, the foundation's addition to staking rewards, that's going to go away. It's going to be purely fees. So yeah, he's right. That's why when Olivia says, in order to generate more staking income, Algorand blockchain needs more transaction fees, that's 100% true. Especially because it's going to have to replace those rewards.
The algo validators received nearly 6.9 million as rewards. Okay, next slide. Monthly, here we're going to see a bit the monthly active accounts, monthly active addresses, new accounts, and transactions. And as we can see, from December to January, we had a nice spike of 62%. So monthly active addresses were up 62% and new accounts were up 79%, which is a very, very good indicator of on-chain activity. And we had sustained engagement for the 6-month average, which passed of monthly active addresses being around 773. Okay, next slide. Now, as you know, Algorand is positioning itself, financial empowerment, real-world assets, tokenization, and so on. So here we're going to see real-world assets. What is Algorand? What are projects building on Algorand? So let's start with an overview. Between December and January, we had a 42% increase in transactions. We went from 6.7 to 9.5 million transactions. Active addresses increased by 111%, and USDC volume went from 223 million to 584 million. That's a 162% increase. And here on this dashboard, we're focusing only on real-world assets, okay? Which was one of our focus. And here we're saying which projects and tokens we are tracking. So we have Lofty, Alza Gold, Meld Gold.
It's a really big stablecoin increase, by the way. Not market cap, obviously, but everything else increased by quite a bit, which is actually pretty impressive.
Gold, Afan, World Chess, Mandeshi, Laptray, stablecoins, USDC, USDT, XUSDT, and Go USDC. Here we're looking at retail payments, and retail payments are defined as payments which are less than $250. And this is the definition which Visa uses in its online dashboards. So as you can see here, we had Algo from December to January. We had transactions from 4.5 million to 4.9 million. Active addresses went down a bit. Volume went down a bit as well. Hafan, interesting project. In December, they had 697,000 transactions. In January, a bit less, but still over 600,000. Active addresses, 46.6 thousand to 34.6. And the volume from 10.7 thousand to 7.8 thousand. Stable coins, massive increase here, from 500,000 transactions to 1.3 million transactions. Active addresses from 64 to 111,000, 72% increase. and a massive increase in volume from 18 million to 38.7 million, a 114% increase. Now, stable coins in general, again, the market cap went a bit down from 62 to 56, 11% decrease, but active addresses increased 140% and volume increased by 162%. Commodities, gold and silver, massive increases here from December to January, 51.6.
All right, I'm going to skip ahead because I think you guys can read this. I don't think we need this read to us, so I'm just going to skip ahead a bit. Holy crap, is this boring? Yeah, let's just read a spreadsheet.
And the last project we're tracking here is private credit provided by Forbes Finance Lending, comparing end of December with end of January, with a slight decrease of 5% on deposits, and borrowers from 15 million went down to 13 million, a slight decrease of 11%, but still nice numbers. Okay, thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank God.
All right. Thank you, Simon. I appreciate the update.
Jesus,
Now
I'm
over
sorry,
to
losing tears.
Michele. Governance. What's the latest with xGov?
Ciao, Michael. So the latest update has been done, pushed 10 days ago, and it essentially addresses one of the issues that we have seen in the voting phase of the xGovs, which is the so-called absenteeism, because we had kind of 100 accounts that registered to be xGov, therefore expecting to vote in the grants, but actually never showed up in the latest voting sessions. So in principle, this should not impact the outcome of a vote, because what matters is the 50% plus one of people showing up and voting thumbs up for a grant. But in our system, we have introduced also the quorums, which are, let's say, countermeasures which are needed in order to avoid single large stakers to pass unilaterally some grants. So these quorums are, let's say, for example, if you ask for 400K, 70% of the current xGov should be present at the vote. So in order to make this quorum efficient, we essentially cleaned up the list of xGovs, block producer, in the last 10 days ago. And so now it's, let's say, it composed only by accounts who actually participated in the last voting session. In particular, your eligibility condition is that you have to vote at least once in the last 5 grants that were available for vote to you. So this is essentially the biggest improvement that we implemented. And in order to, let's say, be able to clean the xGov, we also added another feature, which is the so-called boycott, because there is an intrinsic value of people who don't.
Someone in the comments that says algo is done. And guess what their handle is? It's at Cardano Aaron. So I guess really impartial observer there.
Don't want to vote on a particular grant.
Says big disappointment with leadership. Yeah, I've got my qualms too, so fair enough.
For suppose that a whale is proposing a grant that you don't like, you can not participate in order to not pass the quorum, right? But so in this case,
JJH is asking about Project King's safety. I did not see it on their summary list, so I have put it on my. I put it in the comment that I hope we really learn about an update about Project King's safety. So hopefully during the question and answer, they will answer that.
Once we have addressed absenteeism, you could be kicked out if for 5 times in a row you don't participate. So we introduced the notion of boycott. That is like essentially saying, I raise the hand that I'm still here, I participate in the process, but at the same time, I don't want to give my vote in order to pass the quorum. That was the additional modification that we had to do to the xGov smart contract, but it's essentially, let's say, harmless for the usual xGovs. So this, as of now, we have 9 xGov grants open for discussion up to date, and in the next few days they will go on voting, and the total amount currently requested is relevant because it's 1.65 million. Connecting with what Mark said before, for example, we have a request for the open source contribution to the use wallet, to the and also for the X402 implementation by MG. So you can go there and look at the proposal, understanding what is the impact, and make your vote there. To be precise, also, it's not necessary to be an xGov to contribute. That is, for voting, for sure, you have to be a block producer, but you can also contribute if you're not a block producer into the discussion, because every grant is connected to a forum thread in which you can, let's say, make your own idea or contribute to the feedback of the community about this grant. In case, on the other side, you have not, let's say, the necessary quantity to participate in staking and to get the rewards, you can still join a Retipool, and through Valar, you can also delegate your vote. So,
yeah, while we're getting through this part till we get to the stuff we actually care about, what do you guys think about xGov? Let me know in the chat, because I just have zero interest in it. Back in the day, during the first governance periods, I was kind of big on it. I thought, oh, this is really cool. And then all the votes were just so bored. They were just so anodyne. It was like, whoa, do you want to give 5 million algo to DeFi rewards or 6 million? I'm like, oh, I don't care, whatever. More, I guess. All of them were so, all the votes were so inconsequential, it felt like. So I just really lost. And then, for the amount you were getting, you could just do more with DeFi and not be locked in. So I just didn't have any interest in it. Now it is better now, because now it's about staking, which I don't know. I was doing way better in DeFi rewards. I would have rather they stuck with that personally. I understand for the ecosystem part, but just for it personally, I was doing way better. It's just not worth it being in liquidity pools anymore. So that's just my thought. Let me know what you think in the chat while we get through this.
Even if you don't have, if you have less than 30K, you can still participate and let your voice to be heard in the xGov registry. So for governance, this is all for this round.
All right. Thank you so much, Michele. Lots of great governance updates. All right. Now over to Gabe, our DevRel. Vibe coding is the latest talk of everybody, right? And now the Algorand Foundation has just released VibeKit. I know you were very instrumental in creating VibeKit. Can you?
This I'm really excited about. VibeKit is super cool. I've been doing a little vibe coding myself. Just want to put that out there. It's really fun. I don't think I'm ready to VibeKit a Web3 app with Algorand yet. I'm just a little afraid of, not having the right security or something and screwing it up. I'd probably screw that up. So I do like the idea, though, of someday I have a couple ideas for some apps that might be really cool for the Frugal Nuts, the community. And by the way, you can get on our community under the community tab, or on the main page, you hit the join tab. You can get videos before anyone else, and higher tiers get my experiments in real time along with my portfolio. So just want to put that out there. Well, let's see what Gabe has to say about VibeKit.
Do you want to talk about vibe coding in general and maybe give us a little demo?
Sure, yeah. Happy to. Thank you for the introduction. So yes, I built VibeKit. It is essentially a sort of like an agentic framework that enables your LLM to write Algorand code really, really well. If you've tried creating an app using like ChatGPT or any kind of LLM, you're probably familiar with the problem statement, which is that AI is not very good at writing Algorand code. So when I first developed VibeKit, that was the problem we set out to solve. But since then, it's actually involved in like a whole framework. So now with VibeKit, your agent can actually own the entire developer experience from like 0 to mainnet deployment. So your agent can scaffold a project, build a smart contract, deploy it, test it, call it, and actually even like attack it. Like you can like tell your agent try and like break or attack the contract, which is really fun. But you can do that all within your agent. So I thought rather than talking about it a bunch, I would just walk you guys through some of the core features, and then you guys can try it out on your own. So let me try and share my screen. Is that working? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes. Yeah, and this just a reminder to everyone, this is live, so hopefully this demo goes as planned, you know.
Yeah, so AI is like non-deterministic, so we'll see like where this goes, but I've had pretty good luck so far. It seems to do really well. Yeah, you'd start off with the install. So if you go to getvibekit.ai, that'll bring up this like website with the documentation and most importantly, this install script. So if you wanted to follow along, you would just copy that and then paste it into your terminal. So I've already installed this, so I'm just going to skip that part. But once you've installed it, inside of your terminal, you can run the vibekit init command, and that will take you through a series of steps that you need to follow to set up your project. Actually, it's really, here, let me try and expand this. Okay. Is that fairly readable? Like, is the text big enough for you guys?
Yep.
I can see it just fine.
See it just fine? Okay, cool. All right, so you run vibekit init, and this is going to ask you a series of questions to set up the sort of like agentic stack that I talked about. The first question is going to ask you is which AI coding tool do you use? Vibekit is primarily geared towards developers, but if you don't have much experience in that and you want to just try vibe coding on Algorand, as long as you can figure out how to use a terminal and how to use one of our or one of these AI tools, you can, like, it's very accessible. I'm going to use Cloud Code in this case, and then it's going to ask me to install the agent skills. So we've developed a set of agent skills, which are essentially just markdown instructions that the agent can use to develop on Algorand. We've created 12 of them so far. We've also created, or I should say MG from Go Plausible has created the X402 skill. So if you want to play around with that, that's available here as well. But these agent skills just cover everything from like how to write proper syntax, how to like deploy a contract. This does a lot of the heavy lifting.
I think people are getting really bored with this. I think this is really cool, but I've been doing some vibe coding, so I think it's interesting. But yeah, we're dropping off here. But I promise we're gonna get. We've put our question in about Project King safety, so very much hoping that comes up soon.
To help the agent do a good job when writing Algorand code. So I'm just going to select all of them, and then it's going to ask me what directory I want to set up. As of right now, VibeKit works on like a per directory basis. So whatever directory you set up is the one that you want to use Claude inside of in order for all of this to work. I am going to create like a global configuration eventually. So you can just install this once and it works for any directory, but just keep in mind for now, you have to use the directory that you specify. So in this case, I'm using a VibeKit directory inside of my home directory. And now it's asking me which documentation MCP I want to use. So the agent, when creating Algorand code or creating a DApp or whatever, will first of all look at the skills that we configured, and then it will use a documentation MCP to perform like general knowledge retrieval, right? So it actually, the Kappa MCP right here uses the same LLM that that powers our documentation website. So when you ask a question in the little chat screen on the bottom right of our docs, the Kappa MCP actually enables your agent to reach that exact same service. It does like a really good job. So, but if you prefer Context 7, you can use that as well. Finally, really important piece is the development MCP. So I guess I should back up a little bit and just briefly explain what an MCP is. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. it essentially allows your agent to interact with the real world by providing what we call tools. So in this case, the development MCP provides tools that allows your agent to interact with the blockchain. So when you initialize this MCP, Claude or OpenCode or Cursor can actually interact with LocalNet, testnet, mainnet. We'll see that in action once I get this all set up. I already have my GitHub access token configured. That's just so they can reach public repos. And then we have VibeKit provides account providers for you. In this case, I'm going to use the OS keyring, but what these essentially do is they just keep your mnemonics safe from the agent. Obviously, you don't want to be exposing your keys to an agent that's subject to like prompt injection, or ends up somewhere in like OpenAI servers. You have no idea. It's really important to keep that secret safe. So VibeKit out of the box comes with these account providers that you can use. You can use either a HashiCorp vault, which is experimental, or you can use a keyring. And in the alpha release of VibeKit, you can actually use like Pera. So you can directly connect to your wallet's account through VibeKit and start developing through there. But the main point is that your keys never get exposed to the LLM. So last step should be to create the project. Looks like we're all good. I'm already inside of a VibeKit. So let me just show some of the files that it creates. So here you can see like we have a few directories. Inside of this Claude directory, it drops all the agent skills. This mcp.json is basically what configures your MCPs. So this points to the Kappa MCP as well as the VibeKit MCP. And then it has this like agents.markdown file, which just gives it like additional instructions specific to Algorand. So it does like a really good job. But that's really all it sets up for you. And it does this inside of the directory that you specify. So if I launch Claude, my coding agent is going to have access to all of this stuff, and it's going to actually manage the lifecycle of the MCP. So you don't have to worry about starting or shutting down in the MCPs that we configure here. But this all looks good. So like I said, it owns the entire development loop. So I can do things like I can have it scaffold a project for me. I can specify what I want. So I can say like create a new TypeScript Algorand project for me. I'm just going to do a little bit of thinking. It might ask me some questions because I didn't specify what I want the project to be called or anything like that. You can see it loaded the create project skill. So those are those markdown files that I created. So here's going to ask me what I want to call it. I'm going to call it my Algorand app. I want to use the production template just because that includes tests. But these are all the options that are provided to you when you actually use AlgoKit to initialize a project. So it's like a really nice way of using just the English language to describe what kind of project you want to create. So yes, we'll proceed with that. And looks like it created it correctly. This red here, don't worry about that. That's just kind of like a warning. It's not an actual error. Now the agent's asking me if I want to go ahead and scaffold this. Why not? Or install the dependencies. And so once this is all set up, I'll have like a canonical AlgoKit project that's ready to use. And I think we'll try like, it comes with a default Hello World template. So we'll try just building that and deploying it and then calling it. So I have everything set up here. I will tell Claude to build the contract. So there's a Hello World contract here. Can you please?
Yeah, for people asking, I did ask about Project King safety in the chat, and not a lot. There's like hundreds of people watching this call, and there's like next to nobody in the chat. I'm one of 4 people commenting and 6 total comments, so hopefully they'll listen. I think it's okay. I hope people don't get too mad that I'm talking over this part, because oh my god, this is really losing people, and I want to get to the good part. But you'll be able to watch this on replay too if you want, if you really want to see his demo. I don't think this was a good fit for this particular this for this call, like it just didn't make sense. Like I think this stuff is cool and everything, but I think it should be separate.
Create a new account called Gabe if it doesn't already exist,
You got it.
and do it on localnet. Okay, so now it's using the account provider. It's switching to localnet. That sounds good. Listing my existing accounts. I probably already have some on here because I've been playing around with this. And now it's going to create an account called Gabe. And this is, again, using the OS key ring. So like the same key ring that like saves sensitive passwords is going to save the mnemonics to your account. So it's completely safe from the LLM, and you can develop safely against it. So it looks like it created here with this KKN address. And now it's going to give me a default option of funding it. So yes, fund it from the localnet dispenser. It's all kind of built in really nicely. And you can also do this against testnet, mainnet. So it's calling the fund account tool. And now I've funded that account with 10 algo, and now I'm ready to go. Now I can deploy it from my account called Gabe. So now I'll tell it to deploy the hello world contract from this account. So it's going to use the app spec and deploying it against localnet. And the app ID is 1007. So let's just see if that actually shows up in LoRa.
Not the
So here I'm in the blockchain explorer called LoRa, switch to localnet, search by that app ID. And here it is. So this is that hello world contract that we just built and deployed directly from our agent. And I can even ask it to call some of the methods. So let's say I don't know what the methods are, and I just want to list them. List the methods of the contract, and then call them. And just for fun, let's call them using a simulate.
That's where you should end.
So the MCP comes with simulate calls as well. So when you're developing, you can, like on testnet, instead of giving up your precious testnet algo, you can use the simulate endpoints. It also supports like atomic transactions. Basically anything you can do as a developer, you can do directly through the agent. Tried to do a really good job of supporting it. So yeah, the simulation succeeded and the contract returned hello Gabe. And yeah, that is like the zero to hero workflow, all directly inside your agent. Obviously, you can create new dApps as well. So I'll just demo that really quickly. Let's maybe create something really simple, just in the interest of time. Let's have it create a counter contract where users can implement or increment a counter and save the result to global storage, just to add a little bit of interest and complexity. Maybe I'll tell it to use the Kappa MCP to look up how to do it before you start. In fact, let's put it in plan mode. So the agent does a pretty good job by default of like using the MCPs to perform general knowledge retrieval, but sometimes it doesn't, so it doesn't hurt to specify beforehand. So here you can see it's using the Algorand knowledge search tool, and it's actually asking it how to create a smart contract with global state and Algorand TypeScript. So this is, again, using the same engine that powers our documentation is what's being used here by the agent. So before it actually starts writing any code, it just does like some general research so that it can basically write accurate code. And often it like one-shots it, which is pretty cool. So now it's exploring our code base. While it's doing that, I just want to point out really quick, if you go to the docs on getvibekit.ai right here, and if you go to the, let me full screen this. If you go to the install page, this little box right here shows you how to install the alpha version. So the X402 skills, if you want to start trying those out and building out some agentic commerce, you would just like copy this, paste it in your terminal, run it, and then the alpha version is what gives you access to the X402 skills that were just merged last week. But I'll merge that into the production version probably later today as well. So it looks like our agent's still kind of working and studying.
Yeah, I totally agree with the people who are saying this is crazy. I mean, my viewership just dropped like crazy. It's like, guys, you can't. This is way too much for. Giving a short talk about it would have been appropriate. Giving like a long demonstration. People are here for the news. Hopefully, we'll get to that.
So it actually pulled a bunch of information, including some of our counter examples. So this is maybe kind of like a.
Actually, we're 5 minutes behind, so I'm gonna actually try to skip ahead. Just give me a second here.
It did pull it and development deployed and new development using
how much the barriers to development on a blockchain and an Algorand in particular have come down. So there's really no excuse for any creator who has a smart idea to actually start building and trying it out and proving it out. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's also like really fun. Like for me, it's been kind of reinvigorated my passion for smart contract development because it's just a really fun integrated workflow, and I feel like my abilities have been sort of uncapped. Like there's nothing I really can't do anymore with this sort of agentic workflow.
Yeah, unleash your creativity with VibeKit. Awesome. Thank you, Gabe, for sharing. That's very powerful tools there.
Thank you so much.
Now over to the ecosystem, which I can run through real quick and get over to our guest Alpha Arcade afterwards. So some quick ecosystem highlights over the last month or so. TinyMan released their split router version 3, which automatically splits your trade across multiple liquidity pools with the goal of reducing slippage, maximizing your output. They've also adjusted their fee structure, focusing on long-term sustainability. We saw Haystack make amazing updates. They dropped their auto yield function. Now,
DT says, in all honesty, credit to Gabe it was Gabe for the work he's. It's an incredible thing. Don't get me wrong. I think the VibeKit is awesome, and I am a little afraid to play around with it, but I might at some point. So no shade on Gabe at all. I'm just thinking that was not the place to put in like this kind of workshop on it. Almost like maybe a quick demo. If they could have found a way to do a really quick demo, that would have made sense. But I think like that just inserting that was crazy. It just really dragged the meeting. We're here for the news is what we're here for, I think.
My tokens just don't sit idly in my wallet. Now they get auto deposited on folks' finance to generate the best yield for me. Haystack also released their Haystack login. This is a one-click setup, allowing you to log in with your email address or favorite social media account. It also eliminates transaction pop-ups when trading. If I want to swap USDC to Algorand, I click swap, it's done. None of these wallet pop-ups. Haystack also came out with their Launchpad, all sorts of customizable ways to launch your token, various bonding curves. It's very cool, very user-friendly. I'd recommend trying it out. Haystack also came out with their agent skills. You can curate various agent skills for the Haystack router, use wallets, and NF domains. And then we also had Alpha Arcade, which is our guest here in a few more minutes, launching customizable markets, accepting now all major crypto payments and Apple Pay, and also revealing their MCP server, which would also allow you to your AI agent or favorite AI assistant to place predictions on your behalf. So pretty cool updates from around the ecosystem. A few more highlights. Pact released their 2026 roadmap, includes concentrated liquidity platform. Folks Finance unlocked new utility for their Folks token. Holders can earn up to 50% fee discount when swapping. Realms released their soft staking platform, and it's open for any ecosystem project to utilize. Myth Finance added an export feature just in time for tax season. Akita Inu open sourced their terminal user interface, allowing you to perform all sorts of various actions on your command line. And then finally, Loot Wallet added experimental support for post-quantum secure accounts. So that's a brief recap around the ecosystem. And also just a plug for the Web3 masterclasses.
Yeah, by the way, I'm really regretting live streaming this. It was just I should have just waited, taken some highlights and used it for tomorrow's stream. So sorry about that. Hopefully get to the good stuff soon.
Sarah Jane and Camilo are working on these Web3 masterclasses. The registration is open. This is for anyone who's ever wanted to build on blockchain but don't have technical expertise, or anyone that has an idea they want to build but hasn't fleshed out quite the business end of things. You feel free to register, go through this program. It's an incredible program that takes your idea from just simply an idea to a proof of concept. And they are also using a lot of AI vibe coding type stuff too. So there's the QR code. You're free to scan that and sign up. All right. So now the moment you've all been waiting for is our special guest, Max Ball from Alpha Arcade. Welcome, Max.
Thanks, MJ. Appreciate it, man. First off, love the shirt. Appreciate you repping the new merch. For everyone, we do have a merch drop out right now. We have mouse pads, we got stickers, and a new hoodie. It's live for about 4 more hours, so go ahead and check that out. But yeah, I'm so happy to be here on this community call as always. We couldn't be more stoked at Alpha Arcade, not just with what's going on at Alpha Arcade and Lofty, but with Algorand as a whole. So I'm excited to dive in deeper and kind of walk through what we've been working on, some of the
Definitely should have put Vibe Kit at the end. I totally agree.
new features we've launched, and then obviously what's coming soon as well. It's a lot of big things we've been talking about for a while. So again, we couldn't be more excited. One big thing that happened recently, we were ranked number 3 in the weekly transactions out of all prediction markets, right behind the 2 big boys. So this for us, obviously, we started this company a little over a year ago. A lot of these guys have been going for about 5 to 6 years. So this was a great proof point for us, kind of knowing that we're going down the right path.
I agree. I will point out the dollar volume is far less. It's not even close on the board, but that is worth watching. By the way, I just wanted to hope DT says, I just hope the king hasn't abdicated. Hey, I wanted to show you guys this. I think this is kind of neat. I have my own prediction market on Polygon, or I'm sorry, Alpha Arcade. And you can actually buy in right now, supposedly. How come this doesn't look like the other thing? But there's bids on here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even really know how to do this, to be honest, but it's here. If I pull up Frugal, it looks like there's a 69% yes on that right now, that I will reach 7,500 subscribers by December 31st, 2026. And I do have by the way, I do have the Alpha Arcade badge on my X account. Lofty hates me because I've trashed them, but it's the same people behind Lofty and Alpha Arcade. Alpha Arcade loves me. I don't really get it, but let's get back to
and all of this was happening again before we launched the ability for people to make predictions with Card, Apple Pay, and other cryptos. So this was purely on Algorand, which again not only shows again that we're on the right path, but that we have this amazing, passionate user base on Algorand, which has always been my favorite part about this chain, is really just the passion of the users. And again, the technology, because if you use Alpha Arcade and then you use Polymarket, you're going to notice immediately that there's just a massive difference in the speed that predictions occur and the low costs. So again, for us, building on Algorand has always been the most obvious choice in terms of the millions of decisions we make, both for Alpha Arcade and for Lofty. So about a year after we've launched, we hit around 25 million in volume. I think we were hoping to hit 5 to 10 million when we launched this during the Super Bowl last year. And then the price of Alpha token has gone up about 10x since the initial pre-sale. And like we've always said since the beginning, the goal with the Alpha token wasn't just to launch a token to launch a token. The goal was to have true utility and to reward Alpha holders with these USDC airdrops based on the trading fees occurring on Alpha Arcade. And so again, we wanted to create this flywheel where if you're using Alpha Arcade, you want to hold the Alpha token because you're essentially getting a rebate on those trading fees that you're paying through these USDC airdrops.
By the way, we've been tracking it. I've been doing this experiment, and channel members have been seeing this weekly on our experiment. But I've been getting it's been around 4 to 5% based on how much I put in versus how much I'm getting. Now, my Alpha token has actually gone up a ton because I've just been holding it for a long time ago, and it's gone up, and they've been burning the tokens like crazy. So what they didn't say, and they probably will say in a minute, is was it like 40% goes to Alpha holders, but then the rest buys and burns like the Alpha tokens. So it's like a deflationary thing, pulling off that Alpha token from the market in existence, frankly, shrinking the supply, which should theoretically, if the demand stays the same, should increase the price, which it has. Like I said, my $100, now it's about 140 now, of Alpha is like, even today it was 280, and it had been as high as like 500.
And so again, for us, we don't make any revenue. All of the trading fees either go to Alpha holders as USDC, or they're used to buy Alpha, which is then burned to reduce supply. And we've seen a number of companies kind of taking on these tokenomics very recently, since we kind of thought of this a little over a year ago, which we expected, but it's always interesting to see. In terms of our latest features, we launched the ability for anyone to come onto Alpha Arcade and create their own market, which is actually approved instantly. And so these markets can literally be about anything. It could be about the price of Algorand. You could be with a group of friends playing a video game.
They actually rejected a lot of them. I don't know if that's quite accurate to say it's like approved instantly. Mine actually took a little while to show up. And also there were a lot of them that got rejected. And the reasoning didn't always make sense to me compared to like some other markets that were approved. But, overall, like I said, it's still pretty cool.
Throw up a market, one friend can predict against another friend immediately in that market right on Alpha Arcade. And so this is done without our approval, purely decentralized, which again, I think is always going to be a big difference between us and the other guys, is that Alpha is fully decentralized. The second latest feature, anyone in the world can now come onto Alpha Arcade and make predictions with Apple Pay, card, and any cryptos that they'd like. This has been one of the bigger features that we've wanted to launch for a while, because naturally it opens up this product not only to Algorand users, but really to anyone. And as we've seen with Lofty, when you force someone to download an external wallet, it just doesn't work. People don't like downloading additional wallets, and it's an additional step in the onboarding process. And so for us, we've really been waiting for this feature launch before we start pushing heavily on marketing and really pouring fuel on the fire, which is where we're at right now. And the next feature, this is probably something I would say we're most excited about. We've now created the ability for people to essentially create these trading bots or LP bots really within like 30 minutes. And it's beyond simple. We're committing $100,000 in liquidity provider rewards over the next year for people that want to create these bots and provide liquidity in order for predictions to go through instantly for users. And so if you were to create a bot on...
I provided some, by the way. I don't know what it did exactly. Well, I provided some liquidity for my own. John says, right now I'm focused on bringing my algo average down to 8.2 cents. Right now I'm at 0.91 cents.
Poly market or any of the other prediction markets, and you were to compare the rewards you get there to what you would get on Alpha Arcade, the difference is insurmountable. Because
Jim just says we're gonna hit 5 cents easily. That would be an all-time low, by the way. People are asking about all kinds of questions. This is the stuff they really got to get to. Everyone asking about Project King safety, about partnerships with Google, Alpha, transparency reports. Those will be around. There's tons of stuff. Fiat chain. Suddenly all the comments are coming in. It took this long. Interesting.
Because the competition on Alpha Arcade is so low for these bots. And so this is something I definitely recommend everyone check out. We just made a big post on Twitter about it. You could spin up one of these bots in minutes. Again, AI and agents obviously make this a lot easier. And so again, something we're really excited about. And then looking forward, prediction ETFs, this is something we're going to be rolling out soon. Essentially, if you're bullish on AI, you should be able to essentially make a prediction, either bullish or bearish, on a multitude of different AI markets, right? And being able to benefit and really hedge through doing that through an ETF, which is traditional, similar to like a traditional ETF in finance. NTT, so we have completed the NTT integration. We're hoping to get Alpha Token listed first. The first integration is on Base, and so we're hoping to get listed on Coinbase and then a few other centralized exchanges as well. We think the Alpha Token can be one of the best ways to bring users onto the product, because naturally, if people are holding this token, they're going to want to see what the product is about, and they're going to recognize that if they're making predictions on Alpha Arcade, again, they're going to be receiving those USDC airdrops directly to their wallet just for holding Alpha. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to stake. Just purely holding the token gets you these USDC rewards. Live stream markets, again, we've always thought it would be extremely interesting to spin up a market for any live streamer and allow people in the stream to be able to make predictions in real time. If you imagine like the Speed versus Ashton Hall race, imagine being able to spin up a market in real time and make predictions on who was going to win that race with the odds updating in real time. And for us, live stream predictions, we've been doing it on Algorand. There's been a number of chess streams. I know Cosmic Champs did an awesome live stream, which was super cool. And so that's been great. And then governance 2.0, like again, moving towards full decentralization. All of the decisions should be made by the users. We do plan to obviously open source this at some point in the future. And so that's something we're constantly working on. And just wrapping this up, growth and marketing. Big shout out to you guys at Algorand Foundation. You guys have been extremely helpful, not just working with us to grow the product, but really just strategizing ways to bring in new users onto Alpha Arcade. Mark, MJ, Mikkel, Wasim, you guys have been great. For us, we want to bring in as many users as possible, obviously. And when these users are coming in and they're making predictions with Apple Pay, with card, with different cryptos, that's amazing, because every transaction is settling on Algorand, and these people don't even need to know that Algorand is involved, right? And that's the way that you build this massive product, this massive Web3 product. That's how Polymarket was able to do it on Polygon, right? I guarantee you more than half of those users don't even realize that they're using the blockchain. That's something we've accomplished with Lofty. That's something we're going to continue to do with Alpha. And again, we just couldn't be more bullish on where this is going. We're only a year in, and I can't even imagine what this page on this slide will look like a year from now when we're doing another community call. So again, appreciate you guys, appreciate the community.
Next is their prediction market.
You can actually spin this up immediately after the call if you'd like.
Like how much you guys have grown in just some call with some questions. Does anyone have any questions for Max or anyone on the foundation? Feel free to drop your questions here in the Twitter comments or YouTube, wherever you're watching it, and we will start answering some questions. Right.
Dude, there's been questions.
All right, here's the question. Visa card support in the US. I don't know, Mark, would you like to answer that one?
Yeah, this is something that we're actually actively working on, and we're hoping that we're going to be able to announce something fairly soon, in the next maybe month and a half, maybe or so. Don't hold me to this, but this is an active project, and we're hoping to announce something pretty soon on this.
Got it. Thank you. Let's see. Here's a question, perhaps for Michele for governance. Why would one opt why do one opt to boycott instead of voting no? I'm assuming that's a governance type of question.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good question. So let me try to explain with an example. Suppose that you are asking for that a malicious actor is asking for 400K as of now. So there is a quorum of 70% of the xGov, which are going to vote, and 70% of the total vote staked. The vote that is actually voting on that grant. And suppose that this malicious actor is a large whale who owns, let's say, 40% of the total votes. So he puts this grant and vote yes, obviously, with his 40%. So you, as a single user, you can, without the boycott,
Yeah, I'll be right back.
you would say, I don't want it, so vote in no. But actually, by doing this, you are, let's say, favoring the grant because you are approaching the quorum. Because only after the quorum of these 70% of voters, the vote is valid. Okay. And in this case, you are essentially trying to counteract, but at the same time favoring the grant. What you can do is say, no, I don't want it, and so boycott. So that means not helping the whale to reach the quorum, because if it is only himself, he has only one vote as an account with a huge voting power. But since there is a 70% of quorum, which means as of now there are 162 xgovs, the 70% would imply that at least 113 accounts must vote. If less than these 113 accounts vote, the grants don't pass. Okay, so when you vote boycott, you are not helping the grant to reach the quorum, but at the same time you are raising the hand and say, I'm still active, so I still want to participate in the overall xGov. That is, in the next grants, I want to be there and not to be kicked out for being an absenteeist. That's essentially the rationale behind.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I had to go to the
Makes
bathroom.
sense. There's a few questions here on Project King Safety. Mark, did you want to give us a little rundown of that?
There we go.
Oh, Mark, you're muted. Let's see.
Yep. Okay. Yes. Let me give a quick gut on this. Great to see Frugal BC on the call, by the way. Hi. King Safety. So just make sure everybody's on the same page. Project King Safety is part of our roadmap, and it deals with sustainability. How do we make sure that the protocol is sustainable in the long run? As you know, the staking rewards that were introduced a year ago expire roughly early next year. And so what happens after that? How do we make sure that the protocol remains sustainable after that? So we posted an update on this in December saying that, hey, we're looking at a different ways to create the sustainability as part of Project King Safety. We could increase fees. We could allow a more structured way of MEV. We could issue more tokens. There's multiple ways to actually go about this. And so that's what we're working on. So we've changed the kind of release process a little bit because since we did the last update in December, we announced in the beginning of January a new governance body, the Ecosystem Advisory Council. And the Ecosystem Advisory Council is basically an official governance body that allows more formalized input and more formalized communication between the ecosystem and the foundation, and between the ecosystem and the newly elected board. That is part of our return to the US. So we have this new body, and the body basically has representatives of the community, has representatives of the key projects, and of the stakers. And so as part of the charter that we announced for this new body, we said that basically any initiative that's coming from the foundation that deals with sustainability or governance has to go through the Ecosystem Advisory Council before we can actually release this to the broader community. So this basically impacts how we are releasing Project King Safety. So the plan is that we will share the details of projecting safety and our thinking around sustainability first with the Ecosystem Advisory Council, and that's going to happen very soon. And that will kick off a conversation about the content of this before we can then release it to the broader community. That's where we are. That's a quick update on where we are with this. And we're really looking forward on kind of a deeper engagement with this project. We know that project is very important. There's like very strong opinions about how we should deal with sustainability, and so we're looking forward to discussing this in detail with the newly elected Ecosystem Advisory Council before we then publish it more broadly to the entire community.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, it's great to get feedback from the advisory board first. Here's a question probably for Gabe. Any update on AlgoKit 4.0? Here, let's add.
Yeah, so I don't know if our publish date for it has been officially released yet, so I can't share that information, but it is imminent. We're working on the documentation for it right now, and the work is in its final stages, so just stay tuned and we'll have something more to share shortly.
Great, thank
hit the like
you.
button if you haven't already.
We get a few questions on this regarding DEX liquidity. I know that Fred is actively working on this with Amar, and Fred is on vacation here. I invited him to the call. He's on vacation, but I will speak with Fred about this and get back with y'all about DEX liquidity. That's definitely a good topic.
Yeah, and let me add to this. We know this is taking way too much time. I think it's a really important issue. We're complete.
Green Blue, the answer is we have a lot of boards and councils. There's a lot of, but you know what? You kind of have to. Oh, here we go. I don't know why it stopped for a second there. You kind of have to, because if you want all these things to be decentralized, then you have to have a lot of different bodies weighing in on stuff. Although, yeah, I don't know, maybe it's a little excessive, but let's just finish this out. We got like 3 more minutes, huh?
Turns out it's pretty difficult to solve, but we obviously haven't forgotten about this. This is a really big and important priority for us.
Yep, sounds good. And do we have any update on the Roca wallet? How's that going with World Chess? I don't know who wants to take this. I know Bruno is actively working on this. Mark or Gabe, did y'all have anything to speak on this? Or?
Yeah, I think this is continuing as planned. So, and from a wallet infrastructure point of view, I think there's been a lot of progress. Like since we announced the roadmap in July of last year, as you remember, wallet infrastructure was an important part of our roadmap, and there's 2 components to that. One was Intermezzo, and 2 was Roca. Roughly 2 months after we announced the roadmap, we released Intermezzo publicly. It's now being used by several projects, also in India. That's exciting to see. Roca is still under development. World Chess project is going great. I think the World Chess is actively using Intermezzo to manage their loyalty program, their on-chain loyalty program, which.
Hey, thanks for tuning in, DT. Yeah, May is my guess. April, May. Might be. Yeah, we'll see. I was kind of hoping we'd get something of an update today, but we got at least a timeline update, so that's good. And nice that they brought me up there. So very cool. Let's keep going.
Which is increasing. And so the next step is for us to release Roca together also with World Chess for the chess identity passport that we've talked about last year. So that is in progress.
All right, thank you so much, guys. And with that, we are running out of time, so I think it's good that we wrap things up.
And Jay, like if you don't mind, there are several questions that were asked in the chat.
Oh, sure.
Also about our return to the US and why we are not a nonprofit anymore. So I want to make sure I want to make sure I tackle this. So I just want to make sure that everybody realizes this is not a fundamental change on how we're structured, or like how the foundation, what the foundation's mission is, or anything like that. So all of this change from a nonprofit to a profit structure has really no impact on how the foundation is managed and run in the US. The only reason why we did this is basically for tax and specific legal reasons. So it has no bearings on the activities or the strategy of the foundation. And so I just want to make sure that people realize this.
All right. Thank you, Mark. All right. We're a bit over time. So thanks to all the listeners. Thanks for everyone who asked questions.
Okay, we can. I think we can skip the last part of that. So, yeah, a really important point that Mark made at the end. Just because you're a nonprofit versus a for-profit company, those two things aren't as different as a lot of people think they are. They are companies still, like, they think that there's no revenue possibility when you're a nonprofit. Well, there is actually, and you can make revenue. You just can't make, no individual can profit off it. So that's a pretty big difference. So when that change happened, I think a lot of people thought, oh, well, they're like, this baller company, and now they can actually be a company. It's like, well, yes and no, but there's like a lot of times there's legal reasons to do it, but the mission might be exactly the same. And that's what Mark is talking about. Like their mission hasn't really changed. They're going to keep doing the same thing they're doing. Hopefully though, focusing a little more on revenue, which I think Algorand desperately needs. For those of us hoping the price actually goes up instead of down, definitely needs revenue. That's a pretty important thing. So anyway, that went way longer than I thought it was. Ended up being about an hour and a half stream. We're actually going longer, and I've got a lot of things that I have to do besides this today. So I'm going to let you guys go. But thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate it, everyone. I know some of it kind of dragged. I know it got a little boring at the in the middle part there. And like I said, no shade to Gabe and to VibeKit. I think it's a super cool project. I think it probably was misplaced in a call like this because I think people really wanted to have questions answered, and there was a ton that didn't really get talked about, like fiat chain. I don't know if they'll talk about that. People asked about the transparency reports. Him saying that nothing is probably going to change probably answers that. I do appreciate them answering the question about Project King safety, because I think a lot of us are wondering about that. Probably hoping we got a more definitive answer, but I understand there's a process and it needs to get through. Olivia French says we need to build things for real. I 100% agree. Why is this live on Kick saying B Bobble? I don't know what that's about. The Kick, I rarely get like a real comment on Kick. I get a lot of these like, hey, we can grow your channel, blah blah blah. That's what I get on Kick. Twitch, I never hear anything. Seeing some like buttons, I appreciate that. Hopefully people were hitting that. I didn't have a chance to tell you to hit the like button as much as I usually do, but yeah, so interesting call. I slightly regret live streaming it because that took way longer with way less. It just really dragged in the beginning, in the middle, and I think people really wanted to have their question answered. That was the big part. So I think maybe in the future they should think a little bit more about that, because it really did drag, and people, I lost my viewership went down to 3 at one point because people were so bored of it. And I think it's really cool. I'm like super into vibe coding. But that stuff, like I was watching it, I'm like, yeah, if I tried to do that, I wouldn't know what I'm doing. It's just not, I'm starting to get this feeling like AI and vibe coding and all this stuff is like leaving me behind. And I know compared to like, if I went in my neighborhood and said, who knows the most about this, I'd probably be toward the top, but that still isn't like, compared to the people who actually know what they're doing, I'm so far behind on this stuff. So, all right, well, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Hope you guys got something out of this. Like I said, I kind of wish I had maybe just reacted to that last part. I could have brought that up during the live stream tomorrow. And now I've got to seriously think about whether I'm going to live stream tomorrow, because we live streamed today, and this is, quite a bit of time that I'm spending on the channel versus my other business. So, but probably tomorrow 10:30, maybe we'll do a short one.